Hi everyone, this is Renee from MeadowlarkMystic, and I am doing a share of the Divine Feminine Collage Oracle that I have created. I'm laughing because when I started this journey with the Divine Feminine, and specifically with Mary, I did not think that I was creating an oracle deck. I just was kind of exploring and having fun with collage art. And I created an Etsy shop, and I have some art up there. But then the more I got deeper into the project, the more it seemed that that I was actually creating an oracle deck. And of course, I got a lot of encouragement from our community because that's what we love, is tarot and oracle. So I wanted to share this mock-up that I made of the deck. It is a blank Rider-Waite-Smith, I think, yeah, from US Games. So it's regular tarot card size, and these are the like kind of plaid backs, but the insides were blank. And what I did was I shrunk the art down, and I glued the art to the card, so they're not laminated or anything. And the art's probably going to look, I'm hoping the art's going to look a little more bold when it's printed. I think I'm probably going to go with a large, there's a big size playing card size from Make Playing Cards, which is, a printing company, and I like their cardstock, and their size, I think it's 3 by almost 5, and I like that size. So they're probably going to be bigger, but I'm not at that stage yet. I just did this mock-up to kind of share the images with you. Again, they're going to be a little bit bigger, but if you're interested, you can just stay tuned. So I also printed these kind of, like, the font is not even that nice, but anyway, I just wanted to share so you can see the names of the pieces and the presences, and then attach them to the actual image. Oh, I guess I'll say then that was so Sybil, Astrid, and all of these come with the booklet's going to come with a little bit of their story and journal questions. There's also 2 ways to use the deck. You can just journal with them, or you can pull tarot cards to answer the questions that they ask, which is what I do with them. Oh, you know what? I guess I should tell you their full titles. Sorry. I just turned the camera on without really thinking about this. Okay, so this is Maiden, She of the Premonition. I'll just go back a little bit. This is Silva, She of the Deep Forest. This is Astrid, She of the Magical Path. And this is Sybil, She of the Hard Place. Okay, so now I'll say all the... I wanted to come a little bit closer. This is Erin, She of the Secrets. You can see the tiny figure and the unicorns down there at the bottom. This is Grandmother. I think I had trouble with her title because she was such a complicated she was such a complicated feeling state when I was doing her. I'm pretty sure what I ended up with is She of Acceptance. Either She of Acceptance or She of Presence. I can't remember which one. She's the very last one I just did, and I haven't worked with her that much. Hildy, She of Revelation. Hope, She of the Ray of Hope. Elka, She of the Path. Ariadne, She of the Burning. Mary, She of the Love and Sorrow. Or maybe it's Sorrow and Love. Felicity, She of Creation. Lita, she of the lighthouse. Eve, she of knowledge. Gita, she of the senses. Rana, she of the shard. Pelu, she of the offering. Gandhi, she of the roots. Esme, she of self-love. Dahlia, she of abundance. Ahina, she of the wasteland. Bailey, she of righteous anger. Sophia, she of deep wisdom. Temhyo, she of dreams. Temhyo is really cool. Let me see if I can get her closer. Her face changed over time. Jinju, she of the rare pearl. Yana, she of the quest. You can see her cool dragon. Sahai, she of the golden light. Dove, she of the silver compassion. Ming, she of the writing. Shala, she of consideration. The word consideration with Shala is not the kind of typical use of the word consideration, like be considerate. It's more the use of a considered judgment, like, so taking your time and really thinking about something. I went back and forth and tried to change her word a couple times, but she really didn't want it changed, so she of consideration. Adama, she of the harvest and coal. Chessa, she of the bright sun. Prayana, she of the muse. She's one of the newer ones I've done. The crone, she of the truth. Octavia, she of the sacred question. Mekong, she of the sacred waters. No, she of the waters of life. Sorry, she of the waters of life. You can see her card is really one of the more intricate. She of the waters of life. Nisa, she of the nectar. Geralt, she of the bounty. Mariposa, she of the joyful path. She's one of the only ones that has eyes that I didn't try to make them like fit with her face that much because of her story and what she wants. Mara, she of the deep indigo waters. Mara's one of my favorites. Aruna, she of the moonlight. This is one I just finished. Shakeen, she of the promise. Glynis, she of the fairy tale. This is another one of my favorites. Jovi, she of the spotlight. And the last one, Amla, she of the empty vessel. So there's 45 cards in all. Again, it'll come with a booklet. I'll just go through these while I'm talking. Yeah, it'll come with a booklet and journal questions. The journal questions are really like the heart of the deck. Because each of these divine feminine characters really had questions that they asked of me, And, you know, they do have a tiny bit of a story, but it's mostly about the questions. It's about the questions that they pose and the ideas that they represent and the ways of being in the world that they represent. I've talked a little bit about my journey with the divine feminine and how this kind of all happened fairly quickly. You know, I've been working on collage for a few years now, and I've been kind of circling Mary for, I'm just going to leave this here for a second. I've been circling Mary for a while, and then I was sent this deck, the Mother Mary Oracle, and I got this card, Our Lady of the Rose Crown, and I haven't pulled any other card because this has been such a pivotal and important card for me. Once I pulled this and really started kind of meditating on her, sorry, I moved my mic. That's when everything really started gaining momentum and traction. And then I did the piece, Mary, She of the Sorrow and Love, and then all of a sudden, all these divine feminine came forward, and it's been quite a journey for me. They've kind of taken over my life. I think about them all the time, and I'm constantly working on the art and, you know, just the different aspects of them. In the cards are often, you know, symbols to what the, you know, the presence is speaking to. But sometimes it's more just kind of a feeling state. Like when I was doing this, these splotches of paint in the background really looked like doves, and she's got little doves. So this one's kind of cool, actually. This was a museum piece of an amulet, and so her head is actually down here, and her arms were in a different, well, this hand was over here and her head was down here. It was a piece of jewelry, and I just saw that inside could be like her heart space, and then she had a lot to say about you know, what you do with that heart space. So sometimes it's hard to tell when you just look at the card all the different pieces or how things came to be, but it was a very interesting and organic process. The only card that I really struggled with, which is kind of funny because I thought she was going to be so easy because she has such a real gentle energy, was Nisa. You know, when she stepped forward, she was like, oh, I like this, and so it seemed so straightforward. But yeah, I struggled with completing her backgrounds, I think because I was overthinking it, and in the end I just kind of went with like a blurred out blossom background for her, which worked. I can't remember where I was now. Yeah, I do have favorites. I don't really know why. It's just something about the presence. And when I say favorite, it's just the one that I kind of resonate with most powerfully. But I think they all have really interesting things to say. I found Shakeen's She of the Promise really powerful, and I was actually, yeah, I was surprised. I knew who she was and what she looked like and like what she wanted around her, but in terms of the exact message, I wasn't quite sure. So often when I create the pieces, like I said, it's a feeling state, but I don't know the questions or the exact message that they want usually until I'm finished. And when I finished with her, She of the Promise, all of a sudden it came rushing forward. She's got a, you know, a youthful appearance, and she's kind of got a look of, kind of like, you know, the look that a teenager gives. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And that's kind of her question. Like, what are you doing with the promises that you made? So, yeah, they're all very real to me, and they all have important questions and messages to convey. Amla, this picture, picture in the corner is really important to this card, Empty Vessel. Didn't you? I know all their names because they are like real people to me. So it's not a real matter of memorizing them. It's more like when you meet people, you know, remembering their names and remembering their stories. Some of them were actually kind of emotionally draining to create. So Ahina, She of the Wasteland, she's a card, she's a presence that's really about grief and getting lost in grief. So, you know, this was kind of a tough one to do. And I'm trying to find the crone. She was also really heavy when I was doing her card. I guess she's still, here she is. Yeah, She of the Crone, this one. It was intense working with her energy and working with the card as I was creating it. Some cards like her, you know, they look pretty simple, you know, just looks like a bunch of blue in the background, but it actually took a really long time to. Sometimes what happens is I'll get really set on an image that I want to incorporate into the card, and then I kind of lock myself into that. That's what happened with her. But it just didn't seem right, and then I let go of the image and just kind of kept playing, and then this tree and the roots and this presented itself, and then it fell into place. But sometimes I'll get locked in an idea, and it'll make it harder for me to, you know, figure out where I'm going. But sometimes the energies that they're representing are difficult. So, you know, this is the crone, She of the Truth, and then this is Ahina, She of the Wasteland. And then sometimes they're so easy and they're such a joy. Esme was one of those cards that was just, it came together super quickly, and yeah, it was a real beautiful energy. Kendi, Pelu, she came together really fast. She knew exactly the images that she wanted me to use and what she wanted to say. So some of the faces are composite and some of the faces are copyright free faces. Like this is a composite face. It was really important to me to use some old like Renaissance art, but also to use more modern faces. This is Lita, She of the Lighthouse. You know, this is like Renaissance art. This is not Renaissance art. This art is from like 1890. And she, of course, was the very first one I did. I love this card. Her expression is so funny and so good for her card. this, I went back and forth about this card because, or about this face, because she looks so sad, and also she's expressing something that I find really difficult to put into words, because she's kind of like Dove, in that way. She's more, instead of a personality or like an action, she's more kind of a state of being. Let me find Dove so we can talk about them a little bit. So these two are more more than a like personality or presence. They were more a way of being or inhabiting a space. So Dove, she of this silver compassion, is like embracing kind of a stillness within the heart space, and thinking of like the inside of a flower and how the space is very sacred, and showing that self-compassion is the beginning of outward compassion, but it starts like in a stillness. So that's this card. And then Grandmother is about accepting the world the way it is, to find a way forward. So it's not a surrender, it's just, with age comes an ability to see what is, and love and accept, and even hold great sadness without losing hope. Like to keep going, and to also hold space for others when they are going through something very difficult. So when she came while I was working on her art, and when I was done, I just sat with her for a really long time, and I felt like she was just sitting with me, and I started crying, but she just held the space for, you know, my emotion, rather than giving me any advice. So I guess a lot of the other cards have kind of have a way of dealing with the world, you know, tools maybe, and those are represented by different questions. But Grandmother's presence was none of that. There were no questions, there was no effort. She wasn't trying to fix anything, and she wasn't trying to change me or anything. She simply accepted and witnessed and held space for me. And that's the feeling of the card, and I think that's what she encourages us to do. So that's my little explanation of Grandmother. Yeah, so these cards, they mean a lot to me, and I'm still going to be putting them on plaques and selling them in my Etsy shop for those people who feel really called to the art. Erin was interesting. So I finished her up till this point, and then the top of the card was blank. And she would not share anymore. She was really silent, really quiet. And I kept getting this feeling of there's something more to her, but I just can't get at it. So I set her aside and started, working on the more business side. And then after I think it was maybe I slept on it, then the next morning I realized what she was about. So she is about secrets, and it's not so much secrets that you it's not a sense of duplicity. It's a sense of keeping things close to your heart and not sharing. Like it's not the time to share. So, yeah, so that's what this card is about. And then once I understood that, I was able to finish the top. So it was just interesting, like she embodied the idea of the card in the way that she was communicating with me, which was not much. So it's kind of like she kept secret what the card was about until I understood what the card was about. I really do like Sybil too a lot. So the interesting thing about this weird like mask face is that when I was doing her card, you use glue and there's so many different pieces on here. They look kind of like a hole, but they're not. Anyway, this weird face was an impression on the bottom underside of a piece of paper. And when I saw it, I immediately thought, wow, that's a strange face, and it fit right under her hand. So I went in with a pen and outlined the face that I saw. So it felt really organic. I would say this whole process has really felt organic, and just me going where they want me to go rather than me like they're telling me where to go. I'm driving the bus, but they're telling me where to go. And I've never experienced anything like it. I feel really lucky, really blessed, really changed. Like this card, when she came, this is Maiden, She of the Premonition. The idea of this card is this is Mary as a young woman, before before Joseph and before the angels and all that, and she has a premonition of what her life will be like. This piece, this story, this idea came all together, all at once, and it was a bit overwhelming because I didn't quite know what it was about. I didn't know I was making art to sell at this point, and I didn't know that I was making an oracle deck. I just knew that this needed to be expressed. So, I think I've heard from other people who work with Mary on an ongoing basis that her presence is becoming stronger and more felt in the world. And I wanted to share that I'm also reading this book. I kind of got derailed because of the art project. I haven't done any reading, and I've barely done any tarot because I've just been constantly working on this art. But I got this book I've been reading. Oops, I knew it was going to do that. Ugh. I'm trying to get to the title page. So this is the author of She Who Runs with the Wolves, I think is the name of the book that most people have read. And really, so Blessed Mother's Immaculate Love for the Wild Soul, Untie the Strong Woman, Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Yeah, a best-selling author of Women Who Run with the Wolves. And so this book is about Mary, and it's about the divine feminine that's represented by Mary in myth and story around the world. And then I'm also reading this one, Mirabai Star, Wild Mercy, Living the Fierce and Tender Wisdom of the Women Mysteries. I actually haven't read much of this one. and I think I'm only on page, I don't know, where am I on this book? Doesn't have page numbers. Let me see. Oh, shoot. I'm on page 103, I guess, on the Untie the Strong Woman. So yeah, divine feminine energy, divine feminine, yeah, deep in that. And what's interesting is I thought I was going to be more, I think I've mentioned this before, I thought I was going to be more into Mary Magdalene. So I was, I read some of those books, and I just didn't, I know why I didn't, but at the time I didn't realize. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through the deck again. I'm still in love with having all the art at my fingertips, because the pieces are 9 by 11 or 9 by 12, almost 12, and they're now, I've got 45 of them, so it's really heavy. The bundle of art is quite heavy, so I don't get to see the pieces of art together unless it's on the computer, and even then I'm usually just looking at one piece. So being able to see all the pieces together in this funny little deck that I made by just actually printing out and gluing onto pieces of blank tarot cards is really fun. For me. And I must also share that when I shared that I was opening my Etsy shop, and then the idea in the comments, I think I might have just said offhand at the end, and maybe I'll make an oracle deck in the future. And then in the comments, that became like the main focus. Like everyone was like, oh my gosh, an oracle deck, that will be amazing. And I was kind of resistant to it. I was like, I don't want to make an oracle deck. I'm doing this. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that actually was the direction I was headed, and to fight it really, made no sense. I think that these cards can be, like I said, can be used in 2 different ways, and I talk about it in the little booklet, but you can just kind of meditate on the pictures. Actually, I guess 3 different ways. You can meditate on the pictures, just, get what you get. Or you can journal with the questions that each of these divine feminine presences ask. Or you can do all that, and then also with each question, I think most of them have 3 questions. You can, here, I'll show you. So each one of them comes with a question. Where's Adama? Did I just have Adama? I have Adama's thing right here, so I'm going to use her as an example. I felt like I just passed Adama. Ugh. It's funny, whenever you're looking for the card, you can't find it. There she is. Okay. So this is Adama, and she of the harvest and cull. And I'll just read you her little thing, and then I guess maybe I'll pull tarot cards. So Adama, she of the harvest and cull. Adama knows when something needs to be cut down. She knows when the time is right. She encourages you to enjoy the fruits of your labor and then cull what no longer serves. Harvest the bounty and remove the weak links in your chain of creation. This could be a person, a habit, or a place. Know when to walk away. Know what to keep. And then her journal questions are, what in my life needs to be celebrated? What in my life weakens me? What can I lovingly trim? And how can I focus on what nourishes me? Now, unlike most of them, she actually has 4 questions. So let me put her here, and let me get, I'm going to use this because the silver witch card, because I have it right next to me. And you can tell I totally thought this through, which I did not think this through, but I hope these are not in order. Okay, they're not. Okay, so we have a Dama. I'm going to just shuffle this deck. And as you're shuffling the deck, you know, look at her card, or you think about the idea of harvesting and culling. You know, culling is when you're taking the weak animals out of a herd, so that you don't breed weakness into the stock. And that's kind of represented by the panther there. Okay, so what in my life needs to be celebrated? Okay. Ooh, Page of Swords. Okay, so we're going to put this up. We'll put this here. Okay, Page of Swords needs to be celebrated. Maybe I'll just... all right, I guess I'll just put her here. Page of Swords needs to be celebrated. So obviously, like, inspired thought, inspired ideas, inspired... I mean, she's got a book for learning, but I think of pages as inspiration, and I think of pages as a new way of going somewhere. What in my life weakens me? I had no idea I was going to do an on-the-fly tarot reading. What in my life weakens me? I know it wants to be this card. 9 of Chalices. Okay. So, so the 9 of Chalices is usually a card about, that's the 9 of Cups, is about like being full and being, you know, kind of self-satisfied. But she is in a, she's under the moonlight, and she's in a location that doesn't have any leaves at all. And she looks like she's waiting for for divine inspiration. So the 9s are almost the end of the suit. And so for me, the 9 is like you've done what you wanted to do, and now you're waiting for the next step to kind of come in. But instead of, because this is the card that weakens me, but instead of rushing to the next thing, sit in appreciation for what has happened. So for me, I mean, this project has kind of taken over my life, and now that I've finished the art, I'm kind of rushing to the next step, and I feel like this weakens my ability to really celebrate what's happened. So that's what I see in this card. What can I lovingly trim? So what I'm doing is I'm pulling tarot cards for these questions. What can I lovingly trim? Ooh, Strength. So whenever a card is in a position that needs to be like released, I kind of read it like the reverse of the card. So it kind of piggybacks on this card. So what do I need to lovingly trim? And sometimes I can try to push through something too quickly. I did not experience that at all with the creation of this deck. If anything, they were talking faster than I could actually create the art. But in terms of like my life and my relationships with people that I love, I do have a tendency to want things done in a certain way and in a certain timeline, and other people are not on that same timeline. And so I do have a tendency to kind of push, and that really is not helpful. So that would be, what can I lovingly trim? And then the last, how can I focus on what nourishes me? This one. Ace of Wands. So the Ace of Wands for me is like the paintbrush. It's all about inspiration and art and creation, and also just trusting flow, which this card is kind of speaking to, that I often have trouble trusting flow. But I would say with the creation of this deck, that's all I did was trust flow. That's all I did was follow this idea, this Ace of Wands. And instead of pushing, like I often do, and also trying to move on quickly to the next thing, I just let them present themselves in the time and the way they wanted, and it all really flowed so beautifully. So that is my Divine Feminine Collage deck. I don't know that that's going to be the title. I don't know. I'm gonna think about it. I'm going to be working with a friend on formatting the cards into a way that's going to be easy for me to get onto the larger size, and also the booklet. She's going to be helping me with that. So I hope this was interesting, and thank you so much to those of you who have supported my Etsy shop. It's meant a great deal to me and my family, and I look forward to sharing more steps in this process with you in the future. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.